Our devotion today is from Matthew. We're looking at chapter 9 today. Before we get into it, remember to pray for our church family. Today we're praying for, also want to remind you, today LaDonna is having her surgery, so let's remember to pray for her also. She'll be having that surgery very early in the morning, but just continue to pray for her. This chapter, we see Jesus, man, he's busy. A lot of stuff happens in this chapter, but we mainly see Jesus going on miracles. We see so much about who Christ is in this chapter. It shows us about his compassion for people. I mean, he was moved by a heart for love everywhere he went. He was healing people. He was freeing them from demonic possession, breaking the bonds of spiritual darkness that had been held on these people. He's just pouring out his love on them. We see his authority that he's been given, that he has, and the power that he has, and the fact that he's able. He's not just willing to free these people, to heal them. He has the power and the authority to do that. We see how people react to him. Of course, there's people that worship him, people that have faith in them, and that is a reoccurring thing in this chapter. Your faith has made you well. But we also see people who even when they are confronted with the evidence of their eyes, they still don't believe who Christ is, and they try to explain it away by basically calling him a demon and saying that he's doing these miracles and it's actually just a deception. It's pretty disappointing stuff, but we see that. I think we see people who are confronted with the truth about who Christ is, and like we've said, Christ doesn't change himself for anybody. We have to accept him as he is, and there are some people that reject him and will use any sort of mental gymnastics that they need to be able to just push him to the side. I think one of my favorite stories is the one right at the beginning, where it talks about the friends. I think this is the same story where the friends bring their friend who's paralytic, and they bring him down through the roof. Although we don't get all those details here in this chapter, we see a man who is brought to Christ. Obviously, he has a huge need. He's paralyzed, and that's why they brought him there. They want to see a miracle happen. They want to see healing, and they do see healing in a much more important way, the way they expect, but also they see spiritual healing, because the first thing that Jesus does when this man is before him, he knows what they want to see. He knows they want to see a miracle happen, is he performs a miracle in that he says, your sins are forgiven. It upsets some of the people there. They start, some of the religious leaders say, who does this guy think he is? What does he think he's blaspheming? They think he's just talking. He's calling himself God. Goes back to what Pastor Mike was talking about in yesterday's devotion. This man, he believes that he's God. And, I look at this and I think that really is the miracle that he did, though. That's what that man truly needed. Sure, to be unparalyzed would be great for this lifetime, but to be forgiven of your sins, that's what we all need. And that's what Jesus was able to do. That's what Jesus was showing of himself that he was able to do. And he backed it up with that physical miracle. Well, what is it easier for me just to sit here and say your sins are forgiven? I can't see that. But to prove to you that I have the power to forgive sins, stand up, take your mat, and walk. And that's what happened. I think it's just a reminder and a testimony, of course, for us of who Jesus is, that we have to come to him for who he is. We can't just come for the things that we want to get out of it. And I'm just thankful for this passage today. Reminds me just to worship Christ today. If God revealed something to you out of this passage, I'd ask that you leave us a message on Facebook, on YouTube. Let's minister to one another.